Hi, I'm Karen Burniston, here to teach a floating floor technique for use with the ribbon tree Pop and Cuts insert. Mainly you'll use these three dies to create this technique. With the ribbon tree Pop and Cuts insert, when you put it into a Pop and Cuts base, the tick marks generally always line up because it fills the space. And in this case, I'm going to take a 4 3/4 by 12-inch strip of cardstock. I'll need my extended cutting pads, and then I'm just going to roll that right through the Big Shot machine. Pop and Cuts inserts are always integrated design, so what that means is it cuts the pop-up all attached and inside the card. It also cuts your backing card as well, so if you just take your insert out of the Pop and Cuts die and roll it back through the machine with another 4 3/4 by 12-inch strip of cardstock, then you'll get just a plain A2 size card. I can either just fold that backing card in half, or since I have my scoring board out, I'll score it at 5.5 inches, and that just makes a standard card. Now it's time to do some scoring on the Pop and Cuts card. This will allow me to make that floating floor. What I want to do is I want to come off of the center 2 inches and score, but not across the tree. So I'm just trying to trace the line there so I can get to the other side on the same little line. I'm going to measure 3/8 of an inch off of that, so 3 little tick marks on my scoring board. And then now I want to go 2 more inches. The easiest way is to slide that score onto a solid number, and then it'll make it easy. Now I can go out to 10 inches and then measure 3/8 of an inch after that. So now I've done the top part of that little diagram that you see on the left. I'm going to flip that around in my board, and the two on the other side are just 1 inch from the end, so I'll go at 10 inches and then measure over 3 ticks, 3/8 of an inch, and score again. You can download a free version of that diagram to refer to when you're making your floating floors. Just follow the little link that's floating on the screen. Now let's do some folding. So first thing I want to do is I want to take all of those ones and make them mountains, except for the one in the middle, which will be a valley. Now out on the other end, I'm going to do mountain, but then I'll reverse that one to make a valley. So out on the one end that just has the couple folds, that's just going to be a little foot. And then on the other end, I'm going to make this into a box. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some scissors and I'm going to cut in the panel right up the middle-ish. And then I'm going to fold 1 foot to go the opposite way. I'm going to recommend some strong adhesive for attaching your floating floor, so I'm going to use red line or tacky tape. And what I'm doing here is I'm adding a line of tape to my little split feet there, right up next to the fold. So one will be on one foot, one will be on the other. While I'm in the business of adding tape, I might as well just add myself a little bit of strong adhesive to the top of the tree. That's what's going to attach those trees together. I won't attach them yet, but that will have me all in business for when I'm ready to do that. And then what will happen with those two little split feet, they're just going to kind of wrap around the back, and you're going to make a box. And the edge of the box is going to be right in the center line of the card. So however it's easiest to do that, I usually do one of my feet, kind of get it lined up with the center fold of the card. Once I get that one on, then it's pretty easy just to press the other one down. I'm not at all worried about that getting into my little tree area. I'm going to cover that in a little bit. As long as I don't attach it to the tree itself and the trees can still fold up, then it's fine. You don't have to worry about those little tabs coming underneath the trees like that. If I don't attach my trees, then I can still flatten them, and that's really what I want to be able to do, because I want to flatten this whole piece now to be able to add a rectangle on that back section to cover that little triangular shaped opening. The size of my rectangle is just shy of 1 3/4 by just shy of 4 1/4. And you just basically want a rectangle that will fit right there on top and cover that little opening. Now I can flip my trees to the other side, and that will give me access to the front section. And what I want for this section is a square of cardstock that is just shy of 4 1/4 in both directions. And then I'll just add my tape runner around my triangle-shaped opening and get my square onto the piece. And now you can kind of see what it is. It is a little floating floor. It's got a box in the back and a foot at the front. Before we attach this permanently inside the card, I do want to just have it paper clipped into place so that I can check the location of my pop-up items and make sure that they have the right clearance inside the card. So all I'm doing now is I'm just lining up the box with the center fold of the card. That's going to be its final position, but I'm not gluing it down yet. And I'll just use paper clips to hold it into position. And now I need to find some things that I want to have popping up on my floor. Let me go back to my ribbon tree Pop and Cuts insert again with a scrap of white cardstock that's big enough just to cover the tree area. And then I'll just take my scissors and trim the trees away from the pop-up at their bases. There is a companion decorator die for the ribbon tree Pop and Cuts insert. It's the Noel Sizzlet set. And what I've done here is from glitter paper, I'm cutting the ribbon tree. It comes out as 3 pieces, and I'll just have to take my glue and line those up. and that'll leave just a little bit of shadow. So I've got a white tree that was cut with the Pop and Cuts insert, and then a glitter tree which was cut with the Sizzlets set. And when those are layered together, you get that little shadow around the outside. One of the other pieces in the Noel Sizzlet set is the word Noel, and it is sized to decorate the Noel Pop and Cuts insert. So this is optional, but if you had the Noel insert, you could do the same thing. You could put a scrap of paper over just the Noel section of the die, run that through the Big Shot machine, and then I'll just have to take scissors, just like I did with the ribbon tree, and trim out the word Noel at the bottom and the top. Then when I layer those pieces together, I'll get that same little shadowed look. Now, if you didn't have the Noel insert for your Pop and Cuts, you could still achieve this same card. You would just use the Noel Sizzlet set. You just wouldn't have a shadow. You would just have a single layer or perhaps 2 layers to make it more durable, but you wouldn't get the shadow. Now I've got my pop-up items, then it's time to decide where they are going to pop up. Now they can go anywhere on the floor, but I do have to pay attention to making sure that in the case of my trees, they don't stick out the side of the card. So I'm going to bring those in enough that they don't stick out the side and decide on my 2 locations. And then as far as with the Noel, I want to make sure it doesn't stick out the front of the card. So if I stay on top of the floor itself when it's in its folded down position, then I know I'm fine. But I can probably come up just a little bit further than that and it'll still be hidden by the card. I'm going to choose my 2 largest areas of the Noel. I've decided between the N and the O and then at the base of the E to make a couple supports for that Noel. Now I can remove all of my items, and since I've only paper clipped that floor to the card, I can remove it now, flatten it, since I haven't attached my trees to each other just yet, and that will allow me to cut some little box slots around those little pencil lines. So all I'm trying to do is make some little slots. I don't know why I'm not flattening my trees. That would have made it ever so much easier. But you can see what I've done there in the back is I've cut 2 box slots. And then on the front, same thing. I'm just going to take my little craft knife on a cutting mat and I'm going to cut myself some little box slots around those pencil lines. Now I have all my slots for my supports, so then now I can add my adhesive. And see, I figured out how to flatten my trees. So all I'm going to do is take my tacky tape and I'm going to run a line along near the fold on the bottom of the little box and then at the top as well. So I'll just have to avoid my little hole that's on the bottom. And then I also want a line of tape along the bottom foot. So I'm going to put that pop-up card right back into the card again in the exact same position that I had it when I paper clipped it. I just want to make sure that the center fold is right where my box starts. And I usually put the box down first, just making sure that that's lined up with the center fold. Now I can flatten the whole side, peel up my liner on my foot, accordion fold that in so it's inside the card, and then fold my card over and stick it to that exposed adhesive. So if I do this in this kind of flat position, I know that I get that other foot in the right position. Now I can attach my trees. So all I'm going to do is just peel up that little bit of tape that I put on ever so long ago and then just line up the 2 tops of the trees. The secret to making things pop up on your floating floor is to have these little L supports. So you can see that little foot that I folded under and added some adhesive. It presses down to the bottom of the card. I can close the card and press it to make sure that it's really nicely attached, and then I can trim off any excess. So the idea is just to have a little small support sticking up through each one of those slots. Then you add some strong adhesive to the front of that little support and press your pop-up item to it. I do generally close the card in between each one and just make sure that everything is hidden when the card is closed. Now I'm going to repeat that same process. A little strong adhesive on the front of the other support, add a tree, close the card, give it a good squish, and then now let's add some supports for the Noel. So again, I'm just adding a little adhesive to the bottom of a scrap of cardstock, something thin that will go down through those holes. Once I get my adhesive on, then I fold under a little foot. Then I get that down through the hole. So now on the Noel, I went ahead and added the adhesive to the back of the Noel where I knew it would hit the supports. I just judged where that would go. And of course, whenever you use tacky tape, you will end up with the little red liner pieces all over your project, in yourself, in your hair, on your dog. See, there's another one. So that's the tutorial, how you would add a floating floor and some pop-up items around the ribbon tree. I did choose just a white and silver scheme for this particular card, so I've just added some silver snowflakes and some ribbon to the front, just in keeping with my very minimalist color scheme. But of course this would look beautiful in any type of color. And you can imagine other types of items popping up all over the floor. So really you can put those L supports in anywhere you want to on the floor and add little items. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, I hope you will subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can always get pop-up ideas on my blog, KarenBurniston.com. Thanks for watching.